Hello everyone, I'm Jerry Trubman. I'm the owner and founder of the Protocol Strength and Conditioning and one of your Senior SMK Instructors. Thank you so much to Neil for having me on the blog. What I'd like to talk to you guys about today are two of the mobility drills that we were talking about in that interview, and also one of the grip items that we were talking about with the kettlebell in regards to the cleans and the Turkish get-ups. So let's start with the mobility work. I've had issues with my wrists for a long time. And when I first worked with Steve Maxwell, I noticed I had every wrist strap known to man, and he kind of looked at my wrist straps and he's like, why do you need all that stuff? I'm like, I don't know, just my wrist hurts. So he was showing me some of these wrist drills, and I had a tough time with them when I first learned them, but they've proven to be helpful as I've continued to work here. So I'd like to show them to you. One of them is to come down into the hands and knees position and take those hands and turn them over the opposite way to get a nice stretch through the wrist, forearm, bicep. Straighten out the elbows. If you're hanging out here and you're bored, feel free to push your butt to the wall behind you. Get a little bit of a deeper stretch. So that was one of them. We'll come out of there, kind of shake that out a little bit. The other one was to send the wrist the other direction. This one I'll start with by doing one at a time. You'll turn the wrist over and put the hand on the ground flat, and then the elbow bends, so you pull so the pit of the elbow goes forward. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And the way Steve Maxwell explained these two stretches to me was when I can get down on the ground, turn my wrists over this way, extend the elbows, get up into the top of a push-up, and maybe even knock out a couple of push-ups. And then when you can also get both of your hands over in this position, pull the pits of both elbows forward, get up into this position, and knock out a few push-ups. You wouldn't need all those wrist straps anymore. And it turns out Steve was right. So that was the first thing. The other one is in regards to the grip of the kettlebell. So we'll get my bell over here. How you hold your bell in the rack position for either cleans, presses, or get-ups. I'm going to pull this bell up and talk to you guys about this opposite side of my arm. My forearm is wedged completely against this handle, so if I wanted to put a couple fingers through there, they wouldn't fit, versus holding it up like in this position where fingers fit. Now, in the clean, depending on your technique, you may or may not have trouble with that, and the same thing goes for the press. But when you're doing a get-up, if you don't have your hand completely threaded through, and I have that opening, any subtle move through my arm sends the ball of the bell wiggling all over the place. It doesn't make as much of an impact on, this is a fairly small bell, this is 20 kilos. But when you're doing this with a much heavier bell, getting your hand all the way through and pulling it into this position, again, can't get any fingers through there. Now if I wiggle my arm around, you'll notice the bell is a lot more stable. So if I have a little misstep as I'm going through that get-up, the bell stays wrapped around my arm much better. The other thing that Mark Rifkin also noticed about this is it also forces my shoulder into that ideal place to be when you're going through the get-up motion. So I hope those two tips help you guys. Neil, again, thank you so much. Everyone have a great day.